Thus he dismissed me sighing. Forth we sailed at heart afflicted, and now wholly failed the minds my men sustained. So spent they were with toiling at their oars, and worse did bear their growing labours. And they caused their grout by self-willed follies, nor now ever thought to see their country more. 6 nights and days we sailed. The 7th we saw fair Lamos raise her lofty towers, the Laestrygonian state that bears her ports so far determinate. Where shepherd calls out, he at home is called out by the other that doth come from charge abroad. And then goes he to sleep, the other issuing. He whose turn doth keep the night observance hath his double hire, since day and night in equal length expire about that region, and the night's watch wait at twice the day's ward, since the charge that's laid upon the nightsman, besides breach of sleep, exceeds the day's man. For one oxen keep, the other sheep, and when the haven we found, exceeding famous and environed round with one continuate rock, which so much bent that both ends almost met, so prominent they were, and made the haven's mouth passing straight, our whole fleet in we got, in whole receipt our ships lay anchored close, nor needing we fear harm on any stays. Tranquility so purely sat there, that waves great nor small did ever rise to any height at all. And yet would I no entry make, but stayed alone without the haven, and thence surveyed, from out a lofty watchtower raised there, the country round about, nor anywhere the work of man or beast appeared to me. Only a smoke from earth break I might see. I then made choice of 2 and added more, a herald for associate, to explore what sort of men lived there. They went and saw a beaten way, through which carts used to draw wood from the high hills to the town, and met a maid without the port, about to get some near spring water. She the daughter was of mighty Laestrygonian Antiphus, and to the clear spring called Aeaea went, to which the whole town for their water sent. To her they came, and asked who governed there, and what the people whom he ordered were. She answered not, but led them through the port, as making haste to show her father's court. Where entered, they beheld, to their affright, a woman like a mountain top in height, who rushed abroad, and from the council place called home her hard husband Antiphus, who, deadly minded, straight he snatched up one and fell to supper. Both the rest were gone, and to the fleet came Antiphus. A cry drave through the city, which heard instantly this way and that, innumerable sorts, not men but giants, issued through the ports, and mighty flints from rocks tore, which they threw amongst our ships, through which an ill noise flew of shivered ships and life-expiring men, that were like fishes by the monsters slain and borne to sad feast. While they slaughtered these that were engaged in all the advantages the close-mouthed and most dead calm haven could give, I, that without lay, made some means to live. My sword drew, cut my gables, and to oars set all my men. And from the plagues those shores let fly amongst us, we make haste to fly. My men close working as men loath to die. My ship flew freely off, but theirs that lay on heaps in harbours could enforce no way through those stern fates that had engaged them there. Forth our sad remnant sailed, yet still retained the joys of men that our poor few remained. Then to the isle Aeaea we attained, where fair-haired, dreadful, eloquent Circe reigned, Aeaea's sister, both by dame and sire, both daughters to heaven's most men enlightening fire, and Perse, whom Oceanus begat. The ship-fit port here soon we landed at, some god directing us. 2 days, 2 nights we lay here pining in the fatal spites of toil and sorrow. But the next 3rd day, when fair Aurora had informed, quick way I made out of my ship, my sword and lance took for my surer guide, and made advance up to a prospect. I essay to see the works of man, or hear mortality expire a voice. When I had climbed a height, rough and right, hardly accessible, I might behold from Circe's house, that in a grove set thick with trees stood, a bright vapour move. I then grew curious in my thought to try some fit inquiry, when so sprightly fly I saw the yellow smoke. But my discourse of first retiring to my ship gave force, to give my men their dinner, and to send, before the adventure of myself, some friend. being near my ship, of one so desolate, some god had pity, and would recreate my woes a little, putting up to me a great and high-palmed heart, that fatally, just in my way, itself to taste a flood, was then descending. The sun heat had sure importuned him, beside the temperature his natural heat gave. Howsoever, I made up to him, and let my javelin fly, that struck him through the mid part of his chine, and made him, brain, in the dust confine his flying forces. Forth his spirit flew, when I stepped in, and from the death's wound drew my sharp, shrewdly bitten lance. There let him lie, till I, of cut-up osiers, did imply a withe a fathom long, with which his feet I made together in a sure league meet. I stooped under him, and to my neck I heaved the mighty burden, of which I received a good part on my lance, for else I could by no means with one hand alone uphold, joined with one shoulder, such a dreadful load. And so, to both my shoulders both hands stood needful assistance, for it was a deer goodly well grown, when, coming something near where rode my ships, I cast it down, and reared my friends with kind words, whom by name I cheered in note particular, and said, See, friends, we will not yet to Pluto's house. Our end shall not be hastened, though we be declined in cause of comfort, till the day designed by fate's fixed finger. Come, as long as food or wine lasts in our ship, let's spirit our blood, and quit our care and hunger both in one. This said, they frolicked, came, and looked upon with admiration the huge-bodied beast. And when their first served eyes had done their feast, they washed, and made a to-be-strived for meal in point of honour, on which all did dwell the whole day long, and to our venison store we added wine till we could wish no more. Sun set and darkness up we slept, till light put darkness down, and then did I excite my friends to counsel, uttering this. Now, friends, afford unpassionate ear. Though ill fate lends so good cause to your passion, no man knows the reason whence and how this darkness grows, the reason how the morn is thus begun, the reason how the man-enlightening sun dives under earth, the reason how again he rears his golden head. Those counsels, then, that pass our comprehension, we must leave to him that knows their causes, and receive direction from him in our acts, as far as he shall please to make them regular, and stoop them to our reason. In our state, what then behooves us? Can we estimate with all our counsels where we are, or know without instruction past our own skills how, put off from hence, to steer our course the more? I think we cannot. We must then explore these parts for information, in which way we thus far are. Last morn I might display from off a high raised cliff an island lie girt with the unmeasured sea, and is so nigh that in the midst I saw the smoke arise through tufts of trees. This rests then to advise, who shall explore this? This struck dead their hearts, remembering the most execrable parts that Laestrygonian Antiphus had played, and that foul Cyclop with their fellows brayed betwixt his jaws, which moved them so they cried. But idle tears had never want supplied. I in two parts divided all, and gave to either part his captain. I must have the charge of one, and one of godlike look, Eurylochus the other. Lots we shook, put in a cast together, which of us should lead the attempt, and 'twas Eurylochus. He freely went with 22 more, all which took leave with tears, and our eyes wore the same wet badge of wet humanity. These in a dale did Circe's house descry, of bright stone built, in a conspicuous way before her gates hill wolves and lions lay, which with her virtuous drugs so tame she made, that wolf nor lion would one man invade with any violence, but all arose, their huge long tails wagged, and in fawns would close, as loving dogs, when masters bring them home relics of feast, in all observance come, and soothe their entries with their fawns and bounds, all guests still bringing some scraps for their hounds. So on these men the wolves and lions ramped, their horrid paws set up. Their spirits were damped to see such monstrous kindness, stayed at gate, and heard within the goddess elevate a voice divine, as at her web she wrought, subtle and glorious, and past earthly thought, as all the housewiferys of deities are. To hear a voice so ravishingly rare, Polites, one exceedingly dear to me, a prince of men, and of no mean degree in knowing virtue, in all acts whose mind's discreet care always used to turn and wind, was yet surprised with it, and said, O friends, someone abides within here, that commends the place to us, and breathes the voice divine, as she some web wrought, or her spindles twine, she cherished with her song. The pavement rings with imitation of the tune she sings. Some woman or some goddess 'tis, assay to see with knocking. Thus said he, and they both knocked, and called, and straight her shining gates she opened, issuing, bade them into cates. Led and unwise, they followed, all but one, which was Eurylochus, who stood alone without the gates, suspicious of a slight. They entered, she made sit, and her deceit she cloaked with thrones and goodly chairs of state. She set herby honey, and the delicate wine brought from Smyrna to them, meal and cheese, but harmful venom she commixed with these, that made their country vanish from their thought, which eat, she touched them with a rod that wrought their transformation far past human wants. Swine's snouts, swine's bodies took they, bristles, grunts, but still retained the souls they had before, which made them mourn their bodies changed the more. She shut them straight in sties, and gave them meat, oak mast, and beech, and cornel fruit they eat, grovelling like swine on earth, in foulest sort.